Dear students, Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Angiosperm Morphology course with the discussion of buds. In the previous video, we discussed the classification of lateral buds, and now we are going to discover more ways of classifying buds, and one of them is scaly, hairy and naked buds. Now this classification is based on covering, or how a bud is covered, or covered with what kind of structures. So it may be scaly, or that is covered with scales, or it may be hairy, covered with hairs, and most commonly buds are naked, that is they are without any covering, scales or hairs and so on. So first of all, scaly bud. These are especially found in plants which to tide over the winter season, they cover their buds with scales, and these scales are mostly leaf-like. Now winter buds, especially those plants which develop buds at the end of the season, that is at the end of the summer, and those buds do not develop immediately, rather than they are covered by scales so as to protect them during the harsh weather, because they remain dormant throughout the winter, and to protect them from the cold weather they are covered with scales, which are leaf-like scales. Now these scales usually cover those delicate foliage leaves inside to protect them during the winter. And also in tropical regions. In tropical regions we sometimes have alternate dry and wet weathers. So when it's wet weather, when there are plenty of rain, so that is rainy season is ongoing, plenty of moisture in the air, and the weather is wet, so the buds are naked or they are normal. But when the weather gets dry, so in that case the buds are protected by scales, bud scales, during that dry period, so as to protect them from dying or injury. The winter buds are commonly found in these plants like peepal, banyan, pear, mulberry and dalbergia. They produce buds, and these buds develop scales which protect them during the harsh cold weather. Especially in these two plants, the ficus genus, the peepal and the banyan, the scales which protect the buds, they are actually stipules of the leaves. So their stipules are scaly stipules, as we shall see in the chapter on leaves, different kinds of stipules. So one of the stipules are scaly stipules. So in these plants, the scales protecting the buds during winter are actually stipules. These were the scaly buds. Next we have hairy buds, that is the buds which are covered with hairs. But before that we have this particular plant, Calotropus. Now in Calotropus the buds are also covered with wax, and this what it does, that it reduces the evaporation of water, and also since wax is waterproof, it prevents the young leaf from getting wet. Now this is, the buds are also covered with hairs, but along with hairs we have wax as well. And in Ziziphus we have buds which are protected by hairs, and such buds are known as hairy buds. And finally we have naked buds. Naked buds are those which have no protective scales or any other covering like hairs or wax, and they are called naked buds. In fact, naked buds are the most common buds. Mostly the buds that you will encounter in different plants, whether terminal buds or lateral buds or whatever their kind might be, they are naked bud, because all these buds like hairy and scaly buds, they are specialized buds, and they are found in certain plants, not in every plant, but the naked buds are the most common ones. Next we have active and dormant buds. So this is our third classification. The buds which may be active, that is they start development as soon as they are formed, or they remain inactive for a certain length of time. So buds may be active or dormant, and active buds, they begin to grow as soon as they develop or they are formed. And as the name indicates, dormant or inactive buds are those which remain inactive. That is, their growth does not start when their formation is complete. They remain inactive for a period of time, and after which they develop and give rise to shoots. So the buds that we have discussed already, the scaly buds, they are also dormant buds. So as in case with the descriptive terms of stem, that a stem may possess more than one characteristic. Similarly, buds may also possess more than one character. So we have dormant and scaly buds. So they are scaly as well as dormant. And finally, we have leaf buds, flower buds, and mixed buds. That is what is formed when a bud grows. So leaf buds and flower buds, and then we have mixed buds according to the nature of parts contained in them. That is, when they develop, so what is contained in them, whether it's simple leaves or they are flowers, but there are also mixed buds as well. The leafy buds, they are the common or normal buds. The naked buds or scaly buds or hairy buds, they are normal buds, and they develop into a leafy shoot. So these are the commons. Flower buds, on the other hand, when they unfold, when they open up, when they grow, they develop into flowers. Now they may develop into one or more flowers. However, there are certain plants which contain both leaves and as well as flowers. So they are called mixed buds. Although they are not very common, but still you will find them, like in apple, grape, blackberry, and so on. They have buds which grow and develop into a leafy shoot, and that leafy shoot ends in flowers. So when the mixed bud opens, it produces a leafy shoot, and this leafy shoot terminates in a cluster of flowers. Bulbils are basically buds, but they become large and fleshy, and they become large and fleshy due to the storage of food material in their leaves. So they become thick and they become fleshy, and finally they get detached from their parent plant, and these buds grow into a new plant. So they fall to the ground, and after a period of rest develop into new plants. So these are known as bulbils, and they are also found in certain plants. And the bulbils, they usually serve for vegetative propagation, propagating the plant vegetatively. And as far as their position is concerned, that where these bulbils are located, they may be axillary as in lilies, or they may be flower buds as well as in onion. So whatever the case might be, they become thick and fleshy, and they get detached from the parent plant, fall on the ground, and then finally after a period of rest they develop into a new plant. So these are the common plants: garlic, agave, glaba, and also in grasses we have bulbils. And we also have some diagrams for you. So this is bulbil of the onion, the wild onion. As you can see, we have bulbils here. So these are bulbils. These were flowers, flower buds, but they have become thick and fleshy due to the storage of food. And then another bulbil we have here in glaba and wild onions. So this is also a bulbil, as you can see. So further description: in glaba and wild onions we have flowers, and the cloves of the garlic, they are basically bulbils that we usually used in kitchen and in cooking. They are actually bulbils. We are also going to discuss them in the section on underground stem. So this concludes our discussion of buds. In the next video we are going to start the discussion of branching in stem. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.